There are 2 billion tons of waste per annum, and 92% of that doesn't get recycled. So solving a waste crisis is like running on a treadmill. No matter how fast you run, as consumption ever grows, your net position is same.
Ambarish Mitra is an acclaimed serial entrepreneur and investor. He is the co-founder of Gray Parrot, a pioneering company using AI and computer vision to revolutionize waste management and accelerate the transition to a circular economy. Their Gray Parrot analyzer has recently been named one of the best inventions in 2025 by Time magazine. He previously founded Blippar, a trailblazer in augmented reality and AI.
We probably are processing today in a magnitude of, I would say, around billion to 1.5 billion objects a day. We're probably as big as some social networks in terms of image processing. So it's like giving the waste industry an MRI scan in real time, all the time. The fact that AI, for all its hype, is now being used to solve real problems like climate, waste, biodiversity makes me hopeful, and we finally putting intelligence to good use.
Welcome, Rish. You've built frontier technologies in different domains. You started with augmented reality with Blippar, and now you moved into AI with Gray Parrot. What made you shift from creating virtual environments to actually saving the environment?
Honestly, it's not trying to be humorous, but it's a natural evolution from augmenting the reality to understanding it. Blippar was large-scale AI too, because we were the world's first visual search engine, which we recognized the whole world into 1692 categories. So we taught machines to recognize faces and cars and logos, almost like the world's surface layer, But at Gray Parrot, we are almost teaching AI to recognize what society throws away. I would call it like the hidden layer, that almost defines how we consume. So I realized the same technology that drives engagement in sort of people's curiosity, and also a little bit of advertising with some AR stuff, could be repurposed to drive actual accountability, sustainability. And we sometimes forget the waste world is almost like a shadow world. So it's like the mirror of our consumption. So I wanted to build something that helps the planet and not just entertain it.
You said that waste is one of the last frontiers for AI. What makes this space so exciting for you right now?
It's exciting because it's the forgotten part of our behavior. We don't realize besides food, shelter, clothing, love for each other, waste is literally common between every human being, and it's still remain world's one of the least digitized but most critical systems. And we talk about the plastic crisis, but the plastic crisis is really the waste crisis, because the issue is with the disposal of it. It's in our oceans, it's in our lakes, it's in our environment being burned, and it's in our landfills. And every minute, millions of products are discarded with zero visibility. So we have AI in our pockets, we have AI in our cars, we have AI everywhere. We have digitization everywhere. Every millisecond of our life is being traded between 10 companies in any given region in the world. Right? People know where you are, what about to do. The moment you consume, there is no digitization, because people feel there is no monetization. They don't find value. So I feel by digitizing waste, we are completely unlocking a new data layer for the circular economy that can actually transform how products are designed, regulated, and recycled. So that's a huge opportunity. But before us, there was no digitization. Hence, I call it the last frontier. Yeah.
And when did it hit you that waste is really a design and data problem?
I would say the aha moment was it's a multiple thing. When I was running Blippar, my co-founder, Michaela Druckmann, was the chief commercial officer, and of course our clients were the classic CPG brands who would augment their products. And we had this realization that we didn't build Blippar to just do that. We were trying to make it a large scale, like a Wikipedia of the physical world that just has a knowledge distribution. But we became a bit of an ad tech company. And she said something interesting, that we did all this cool AI stuff, and end of the day, we are selling soda drinks,
Hmm.
and we are creating more waste, and it hit us that actually, why don't we go down the funnel and we go and trace the imperfect world? Because right now we are tracking the perfect world. So this Coca-Cola, or this Pepsi can, or this Dove shampoo, which looks perfect in our kitchen, in our bathrooms, in a stadium, in a restaurant, has 10,000 faces once it goes into the recycling system. So it's a technically amazing challenge, but also if we figure it out, it's going to be great for the environment. That was one chain of thought. And another chain of thought, I was in a Harvard module with fellow young global leaders in March of 2019, where one of the case studies was with NG, the big Norwegian company, which is a recycling plant. And then one of the solutions to that, which I came up with in the classroom, was to use large scale AI. And literally 3 months after that, we started building this product. So those were the intersection of those 2 points between my journey and Michela's journey.
Fantastic. And can you walk us through what Gray Parrot is actually doing?
Sure. So Gray Parrot uses large-scale deep learning and computer vision, which is form of artificial intelligence, but on the visual side, to analyze waste flows in real time on massive sorting facilities with wastes moving on conveyor belts. And we have this hardware product called the analyzer. And these analyzers identify materials and packaging by brand, by SKU, by the type of polymers at industrial scale. By industrial scale, I mean these move at 2 meter wide belts at 3 meters a second, and they have up to sometimes 15 inches thickness of waste going through. And we analyze that data, and then we help the plants recover and recycle more, because they have very little information on a unit economics basis what actually is valuable and where there is contamination. So just giving them the knowledge of absolute specific attributes of every product, they can actually regain a lot of materials which otherwise would have gone to landfill. This is a business model for them. So it's like giving the waste industry an MRI scan in real time all the time. And suddenly you can see what's really in the waste stream and use the intelligence to make better design, better policy, better investment decisions. So our business model addresses three stakeholders. The primary stakeholders is the waste plant owners. For them, it's a financial business, and they make more money because of us, because the lesser waste is thrown away and it's recovered. There's a qualitative aspect. And then, of course, it helps the brands understand which packaging works or doesn't. And from a macroeconomic perspective, the policymakers can make better decisions in terms of environmental laws and taxes, particularly a current topic, which is called extended producer responsibility. It's very dominant. It's just coming into play in the UK from this month. It's already in EU and in America and many other parts of the world.
You talked about the quick pace at which these conveyor belts are moving. So I imagine it's quite a hard challenge to solve for an AI or visual system to actually detect the waste in the proper way. So could you maybe tell us a little bit about the hardest challenge that you had to solve in order to make this work?
The hardest challenge is, best way to explain is, you see the world we live every day. Let's just call it when we go shopping, we live in our houses. Everything is in its most optimum form. I call it the retail view. The retail view is shiny, glossy, no dents, no imperfections. And large scale computer vision has played a role there. My own past has played a big role there, where how we recognize these things very specifically pointing. So even as a protagonist, you are controlling the focal length and recognizing something and getting a lot of excitement. But imagine if you totally reverse it and consider the most imperfect conditions on planet Earth to do visual search would be extremely dirty, high vibration, 3 meters a second speed, very poor lighting, and everything with 10,000 different combinations of crush. Every object, whether it's a candy wrapper to a 100-inch TV box to your Amazon packaging to cans to shampoo, nothing looks like as you had ever. In fact, any of you go and check it out, won't be able to recognize the products you actually buy, how they look. So teaching AI to see that chaos in real time and come up with an architecture where this whole thing works on the edge, not on the cloud, because it's too fast. It's a 30 millisecond engine. It is literally making decisions faster than the human eye. And basically having to build one of the world's largest and most diverse visual data sets. It was extremely messy, but it took us 2 years to build it, and we've come a long way where, I don't know, we probably are processing today in a magnitude of, I would say, around billion to 1.5 billion objects a day in our infrastructure. And, we're probably as big as some social networks in terms of image processing. But we do it at 1/10,000th of their cost, yeah. Because most of it is edge-based, yeah.
Pretty impressive. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And from a client perspective, what kind of insights are your clients getting for the first time through using your product?
So we have two sets of clients. Because we have two products, one product which is a known product, and I have to place this as a ad placement. So our analyzer product, which just last week got announced as Time Magazine's one of the best inventions of 2025.
Congratulations. I would have mentioned it as well.
I can't help it. I'm still glowing from that recognition, which we are very proud of. And this is the camera which I'm talking about, which analyzes incredible amount of stuff at scale. The value of that is all about material classes, because the plants only care about materials. It doesn't care about brands, right? For them, they're looking for aluminum, they're looking for PET, they're looking for HDP, they're looking for PPPS, other objects. And also they care about coordinates, because we power robotic arms, we power other machinery. So we like a brain that activates many parts of the plant and brings sometimes semi-automation. And the last thing they care about is size and weight estimation, because make things in tonnage when they package it to sell it. So all these information goes in a product called the Analyzer Dashboard from the Analyzer, and all our clients are massive waste management companies in the US, in Europe, in UK, Korea, 20 plus countries in the world. Our second product is Deep Nest, which is almost aggregated, anonymized intelligence of how these packaging, is performing. And for the first time in history, well, brands are getting to know that insight, whether they like it or not, but this is useful. And brands are discovering what truly happens to their packaging after use, not what's written in the sustainability report. Cities are learning how much valuable material is being lost. So it's almost like turning a very large industrial black box, where huge amount of data extrapolation was done to run reports. For the first time, data is being presented in scales of billions against every material type to get exact information to finally do bigger changes. And why it's important, because the waste crisis has remained a crisis for 2 decades and the needle hasn't moved because it was blind. And now, with this visibility, we really feel a lot of stakeholders will make significant changes. How packaging is designed, how recycling is done, how cities collect bins, etc. So the whole value chain will help and drive it to go more circular.
So maybe we can double click on this a little bit, what success looks like, because it's quite an ambitious mission that you have. Yeah. So let's imagine that GrayParrot really succeeds at scale, even more than already today. What would the world look like 10 years from now? What would happen in the system?
I would say we would almost want to be a global standard. We want to drive. So today, I would say more than 50% of packaging which puts the infinite triangle logo of recycling doesn't get recycled, and there's lack of trust. We'd almost want to become as synonymous with trust because we actually know what gets recovered or sorted or not. So when people trust this, that actually this system is going through a Gray Parrot eye, and if a Gray Parrot logo is being presented on a product, that's the kind of ambition and vision we have. Today, the whole recovery system is going through low trust, and we are trying to bring trust into it through data. So we'd almost have a global standardized view of what's actually being wasted, material by material, brand by brand, and that would reshape everything from packaging design to producer responsibility. So our goal is to become the single biggest trusted source and empower everybody. We do not want to make the change. We want to be the source of truth to act as a catalyst for the change.
Mm-hmm. And when you look at the circular economy right now, you talked about recycling a little bit. What would you say is the biggest bottleneck to really getting to this kind of circular system? Is it trust? You mentioned trust. Is there other elements to this as well?
So there is an element of overuse of the word AI, and hence sometimes real AI versus not real AI gets challenged because people are selling, and that's why I sometimes when we explain it, we really go with computer vision, cameras, optics rather than because someone use the word AI and they think we're coming out to rewrite their reports or essays for them, because people are selling everything through this buzzword AI, and some of them are like really incremental changes where what we are bringing in is a really bold, large scale, industry changing disruption, but we are being explained by the rest of the world in the same way. That's another AI company, and this is another AI company. Yeah. So like it's a bit like your there are cars in the world that can just help you park assist, and that's AI, and they're fully self-driving cars, that's AI too. And we are in that category of fully self-driving, and the amount of detection we do, it covers everything. So having to explain the value proposition and the 5-year, 10-year benefit and the overall change, and that takes time, because we are a category creator. Almost like the education part has been harder than creating the technology, because the technology, my team has had a lot of years of experience in Blippar and things we've done historically. But taking the market along with us. But I would say we are on the edge of that, let's just call it escape velocity, where the laws of gravity are not pulling us down anymore. And because we've spent a number of years to have that reports and the outcomes to prove that this is really working. So imagine for the 5-10 years what could happen for you and everybody else in the industry. I would say it's a positive. Every industry goes through this when you do something this new. And it's not being arrogant, it in a way humbles you because it teaches you best way to navigate the industry and yet be patient with their challenges and not just walk in and say, we know better, because actually as a company we've learned so much more from our clients, the nuances of the complexities of the waste industry, which as an outsider we think waste is bins, where bin is the start of a journey which a lot of things happen after that.
Yes. And it's really, really impressive what you've built. When I first learned about this technology, I was really super impressed and blown away by what you've already built up to this point. And you mentioned, what waste is and what many people imagine as waste, and
Yeah,
how big the scale of the problem is also maybe hard to fathom for people. You said
yeah.
we are not really living in a plastics crisis, we are living in a waste crisis. Could you give us a little bit of a sense about the scale of the problem that you're solving or contributing to solving with your solution in terms of the waste problem?
I would say, just to give you some, there are 2 billion tons of waste per annum. That's a lot. Out of which I would say 500 to 600 million are recyclable goods. And 92% of that doesn't get recycled. Only other thing is the consumption is ever growing. So solving a waste crisis is like running on a treadmill. And no matter how fast you run, because consumption ever grows, your net position is same. But one shouldn't feel discouraged by it, because if we were not running on it, it'll get worse. Even pausing the problem in current numbers is a huge improvement. So we diverted almost 200,000 tons of waste to go from landfill back into circularity, just as a value add from Gray Parrot last 12 months, which we're very proud of, and I would say it was still a drop in an ocean, but good things happen drop by drop. Those 200,000 tons is a large number. Of course, it's a small number compared to 500 million tons, but this is the beginning. And today our exposure is growing country by country. We process 20% of all of UK's waste and some single digit percentage in the US and several other countries. But waste is it's large. I mean, like each percent of a country is a lot of waste. So we have a long way to go, but we are not alone. We feel a lot of innovation is happening on the mechanical side, on robotics side. The thing we are bringing in the picture is, due to large scale AIs, elements of automation, information for everybody to make better decisions and contribute to it. And I cannot nowhere take the credit of a big change is happening, but I would say that this multiple stakeholders in the ecosystem, all the way from plastic producers to people who are doing waste disposal, they're eager to change, because if they don't, they're themselves drowning under this, because the society is saying they're conscientious, but people are buying more things. You know what? The fact is, I'm not criticizing anybody, but the data says the truth. And every Christmas, there is more packaging than the year before. It's almost like climate change. Like people say we're doing this, that, but the temperature keeps rising. Also, the data says every year on year, human consumption is increasing. Conscientious or not conscientious is a different factor. 90 billion tons of materials are mined every year to make everything human consumes. It's a fact. Everything mined. And remember, everything in this world is either mined or grown. So um, and sometimes we have to look at things that way, that can we reduce, because there's so much stuff available to us today. We have enough clothes to give 10 pieces of clothing to next six generations of humans. But we are producing at an alarming rate, and people are willing to produce because people are willing to consume. So as much as companies like us is doing stuff to solve it, the society as a whole, the waste crisis is is a human crisis. It's not a company's problem. It's not a Coca-Cola's problem. It's not government's problem. We are very big stakeholders in it. So I always, whenever I'm talking about this business model, I also encourage people to think about themselves as well and their own choices.
So I also want to talk about your entrepreneurial journey a little bit. You're a serial entrepreneur. So before Gray Parrot, you built Blippar. You already mentioned the company. Looking back at your journey, what are you most proud of?
In a way, sometimes these self-reflecting questions are the hardest. It's a bit like thinking inward. 3 factors in my life which I believe in and I get the highest pride from. One is I stay true to who I am. So always end up building things what I feel or imagine. And they usually, I don't know, I have at least 10 plus things in my career which were world's first. Which made it into quite mainstream usage. It's not like world's first, but it's in my garage and no one got to use it. Like in the real world's first, and in from that perspective, I feel proud that as an entrepreneur, you're not thinking. I mean, I would say purely from a inventor innovator mindset. You're not thinking about your P&L or growth of your company, like the innocent spirit at which you found a company. You were trying to solve a problem first, which you imagined, and you think, oh, I would love to build this needs to be done, and then you convert your dreams into other people's dreams and vision, and you preach about it, you make people heard, aha, yeah, I see the value in it, oh, this is incredible. But you start that journey alone. I feel proud that I've been able to do that multiple times in my life, and I feel this is who I am. The second thing I'm really proud of is I feel quite blessed that incredible minds I have been able to work with in my career. I would say usually I'm the least smart person in my teams. In pure skill set, the only thing I'm driving is vision and obsession and conviction. But if the story of my life is curiosity meets serendipity, I've had serendipitous outcomes with coming across people who also have the capability to do things which are very hard to do and re-architect things, solve problems, get resources. And there's an interesting statistic, a very good significant percentage, and I would say it is above 3% and below 7%, because numbers keep changing, of number of people who have ever worked with me as an employee have become entrepreneurs. And many of them are backed and VC funded. So I feel very proud of that legacy. That shows the caliber of people we are hiring. And the last field, particularly, I have worked in the AI field for so long now. I feel that my appreciation of what it means to be a human has exponentially grown since understanding that when we use artificial ways to mimic or co-create something to match a human capability and spend billions of dollars for it, which otherwise we take it for as functioning as a human through evolution, what we've become so far it is so hard that I really have become a more patient a human being towards all humans and all of their characteristics. So it's been a very humbling experience, and I feel I've become a lot more tolerant and philosophical or spiritual, whichever you want to call it. But things we do, things about us and how we judge each other, it sometimes makes it feels so wrong, because actually everything we do is phenomenal, because try and train a machine to do it is very, very hard.
Very true.
Yeah. Yeah.
And from your own leadership journey, maybe, are there lessons that you have learned from building Blippar that you are still applying today?
I would say, yeah, of course. I mean, there's a lot of resilience. So Blippar was very expensive company to run because it was the beginning of the cloud era, and we were one of the first and largest clients of AWS, and so from a very commercial founder tip point of view, and doesn't mean you have to listen to me because there's an element of youth here too. Young people should make those mistakes, otherwise how would you grow? That sometimes there is no advantage to be 10 steps ahead of the market. It's really good to be 2 steps ahead because you're bringing the market with you. The additional 8 steps are very expensive, though it boosts your ego and you feel amazing. But 2 steps ahead, you could be spending 200K more to 500K, but to be 10 steps ahead, you could be spending $20 million more a year. And you'll get a badge of honor of the greatest innovator of the year. But your commercials cannot keep up with you, and at some point, you will feel proud of yourself as a breakthrough person, but as a business, it'll have its challenges. So I learned that the hard way. Blippar was quite a path-breaking company, and a lot of that knowledge is applied to Gray Parrot from a product market fit and how we grow the business and in the industry is a bit of a laggard. So we're having to take them along with us. So that has been probably my greatest learning. But things like working with amazing people and bringing them along to do difficult things, those are the things I was driven into entrepreneurship as a teenager. I feel I've been a lifelong entrepreneur, and that was part of who I am. I just wanted to always work with incredible people. But the point of how much do you push is there's an element of which to me now comes as a common sense. But when I was much younger, I would do it, do whatever it takes at whatever cost, and I wouldn't do that today anymore.
And when you select the problems that you're working on, do you primarily follow curiosity or conviction or both?
I would say a little bit of both. So curiosity, for me, it's every minute. I'm really a person who doesn't engage with his phone much. I'm extremely observant on the street. I have eye contact with people wherever I go. I'm the guy everybody asks for the time or direction anywhere in the world. It must be something you people who are listening to this might relate to it. Doesn't happen to everyone, but because you are looking and then people look back at you. So I would say curiosity starts the journey. Conviction keeps you in the game when things get hard. So I always tend to follow curiosity, but I stay because of conviction.
Mm. And maybe we can look into the hardships of entrepreneurship also a little bit, because you talked about there are highs and there are lows in the journey. How do you manage to stay grounded throughout all this?
I would say because of my upbringing, I come from a very minimalistic, simple, middle-class Indian family with strong values. And my parents brought me up to really believe how privileged I am, even though I was growing up in a very small mining town in eastern India, 500 kilometers away from the largest cities. And my parents told me, what they told me, we won't have to go into the detail, but my output and the realization of it is I have a family, I have my parents alive, I get to eat and sleep every day, I have access to all necessities of life in abundance. I have love in my life. I have kids. Almost, I'm starting from an extreme positive environment every day. I have all to play for, because when it comes to the privileges, this life itself is a privilege, and that thought really keeps me going. That actually I can only rise above it and never feel I have anything less because I have these things. So this method, or I wouldn't say this is some kind of a practice. It's more like it's part of my being. And I like to bring up my kids the same way, who are very, very young, only 4 and 2 years old. Uh, it sort of reminds me why we are here, right? So, and also humor. Humor is an important part of who I am, and you can't be building a world-changing tech, but if you take yourself too seriously, that's a problem too. You have to, if you enjoy it, yeah.
And that would be a perfect way to end this. But we have a tradition on this podcast that the last question that we ask to guests is always the same, because we like to end on a positive note. So we ask everybody, what makes you optimistic about the future?
I would say the greatest optimism always gives me from meeting younger people, much younger people relative to me, the next couple of generations. And they are not waiting for permission to solve the problems. When I was building companies, the dot-com era had just started in the mid-90s, but I would see a lot of democratization of information and access to all sections of the society. That means people can go and research and figure stuff out, and so I like that they're not waiting for permission. They're hacking, they're building, they're demanding also accountability way more than, and their choices and their consumption patterns are way more ethical than ours. They're not assigning status importance by owning of possessions like luxury cars or goods. They don't associate their identity to things, which I definitely believe our generation believed in it when we were defining our milestones in life. Like, when I will be successful, I'll buy a Ferrari kind of a thing. And those things don't exist in this generation. And the fact that AI, for all its hype, is now being used to solve real problems, like climate, waste, biodiversity, makes me hopeful. And we finally putting intelligence to good use and not just serving ads, what we did for the first 20 years.
Rish, thank you so much for joining us on What's Next today and for showing us how artificial intelligence can really be used to tackle some of the world's most pressing and most important challenges. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Philippe. It's been a pleasure.